Amy stands in the yard of Heartland with the wind in her hair and the smell of rain in the air. When a figure steps through the gate and stops in the golden light of late afternoon, her breath catches. Her hands shake. She thinks her eyes are playing tricks on her, and the figure lifts his head and the world goes quiet. It looks like Ty. It moves like Ty. It feels like the part of her heart she thought she'd buried is beating again. Asterisk. The day begins like any other at Heartland. Amy walks the fence line with a bucket and a lead rope.
Ow.
Checking posts, counting breaths, letting the quiet of the ranch do its healing work. A storm has passed and left the sky washed and bright. The horses are playful after the rain. Their hooves drum the soft ground as if calling her back to life. She smiles, but the smile is light and careful. It is the smile of someone who learned to live with a space that never filled. She moves with steady purpose, yet there is a weight inside her that never sets down. She sets the bucket by the barn and wipes her palms on her jeans, she tells herself. To keep going, that is what Heartland has always asked of her. Keep going, keep caring, keep hoping even when hope feels thin. She draws in a breath and looks up the long drive. Something shifts at the edge of the trees. It could be a ranch hand. It could be a neighbor. It could be a trick of light. Her body knows before her mind can speak. Her heart knocks hard against her ribs. She takes one step forward, then another. The figure walks with a gait she could pick from a crowd on the busiest street. It is sure, but gentle, like someone who learned to move around pain without letting it rule him. Amy feels the old ache rise like a tide. She tells herself to be careful. She tells herself not to dream while awake. The figure reaches the open gate and pauses, as if asking the ranch for permission to enter. Sunlight touches his face. The line of his jaw, the set of his shoulders, a small scar near his brow she knows better than the back of her own hand. Her throat tightens. She cannot call out. She cannot run. She simply stands in the place where every path in her life has always led. The horses sense the charge in the air and lift their heads. Even the wind seems to hold still. The world narrows to two pairs of eyes that have learned the language of loss and found ways to speak around it. He takes another step and Amy feels the ground steady and tilt at the same time. All the nights she stayed up telling herself that healing could mean learning to live with questions rise in her chest and turn into something new. Her fingers curl. She wants to touch the fence post to keep from floating away. He stops a few arm lengths from her. For a heartbeat they do not breathe. She sees a life they built, and a life that ended, and a life that might be starting right here in the dust of the yard. She does not yet know how or why. She does not yet know what this return means. She only knows that every part of her is awake. The wind moves again, a full whinnies. Amy opens her mouth, but the name will not come. The name is too big for one word. The ranch holds its breath with her and waits for what he will say. The ranch feels heavy with silence. The kind that creeps in after too many years of carrying unanswered questions. Amy walks slowly across the yard, her boots pressing into the damp soil left behind by the morning rain. She notices every small sound, the creak of the barn door in the wind, the shuffle of a horse adjusting its weight, the faint cry of a bird overhead. Life at Heartland has carried on without pause, and yet she feels like she has been living in two worlds. One world is steady, filled with chores, family, and routine. The other is a shadow world, one where her heart refuses to stop reaching. For what it lost, she tells herself she is stronger now. She tells herself she has built a life for her daughter, a life grounded in love and patience. But when she is honest with herself, she knows there are nights when she still wakes, reaching out for a warmth that is no longer there. As Amy leans against the fence rail, she lets her eyes wander over the pasture. She sees the horses running, free, their bodies moving with a kind of joy that has no memory of loss. She envies them. She wonders what it would feel like to run forward without carrying the weight of yesterday. She tries to imagine a future where her heart is no longer split between love and grief, but it always feels incomplete. A sudden gust of wind pulls at her hair and she lifts her hand to push it back. In that moment, her gaze slides back to the long gravel drive. She squints. A shape lingers far beyond the gate, just close enough to make her heart stumble, but far enough that she doubts her eyes. Her mind races to explain what she sees. Maybe it is a visitor. Maybe it is one of the hands. Returning from town? Maybe her own tiredness has turned a shadow into something more. But the rhythm of her pulse tells a different story. It is faster, harder, as if her body remembers something her mind cannot yet allow. She feels the warmth of tears pressing at the corners of her eyes, though she has no reason for them. She straightens her shoulders, steadies her breathing, and waits. The figure steps closer. For a brief second, Amy closes her eyes. She tells herself she is being foolish. She tells herself to let go of wild hopes. But when she opens them again, the figure has not disappeared. Instead, he is clearer. The walk is familiar. The outline of his frame is the outline she once leaned into on long rides under wide skies. Her breath comes sharp and shallow. She grips the fence rail so tightly her knuckles whiten. She does not move. She cannot move. Herself to accept his absence are breaking apart, piece by piece. With every step he takes toward her, Amy feels the world tilting, a strange mix of fear and longing pressing into her chest. If this is a dream, she never wants to wake. If this is real, she wonders how she will survive it. The stillness of Heartland holds her in place as she waits for the truth to come walking out of the distance. The gravel crunches under steady boots, and the sound cuts through the quiet like a memory being pulled back into the present. Amy does not trust her own eyes. She blinks hard. Once, twice, expecting the shape to vanish like a trick of her imagination. But the figure does not vanish. He comes closer, every step certain, every movement too familiar to be mistaken. For a moment, her breath refuses to come, and it feels as if her whole body is locked in place between disbelief and hope. The gate groans on its hinges as he pushes it open. Amy notices how his hand rests on the wood, steady but cautious, as if he is asking permission from the land itself to return. The air grows heavy, pressing down on every sound. Even the horses grow still, ears flicking forward, sensing that something rare and unexplainable is unfolding. Amy's eyes widen until they sting with tears, and her chest aches from holding back the cry that wants to tear free. He steps into the yard, and sunlight brushes across his face. The scar near his brow, the quiet strength in his jaw, the way his shoulders rise and fall with calm breaths, it all collides with Amy's memory in a rush so sharp it almost hurts. Her lips part, but no words come. She clings to the silence, because to speak his name out loud might shatter the fragile thread that holds this moment together. From the porch, Icles' mid-step, his weathered hand gripping the railing as if steadying himself against a vision too wild to believe. Lou, carrying papers in her arms, drops them without noticing, pages scattering across the boards. Georgie halts near the barn, her eyes wide, her mouth open, caught between a gasp and a shout. No one moves. No one speaks. It is as if the whole ranch has been pulled into the same breathless pause as Amy. Finally, his eyes meet hers. They are the same eyes she once looked into on long rides, on nights by the fire, on mornings when the world felt simple and safe. Those eyes are tired now, lined with shadows, but they hold the same steady warmth she never thought she would see again. His lips curve into the smallest of smiles, not wide, not bright, but relakingly real. Amy feels the earth tilt beneath. Her vision blurs with tears she cannot hold back. She whispers his name inside her own mind, though it will not pass her lips. Her heart is beating so loud she is certain everyone can hear it. He takes one more step, closing the distance, and when he speaks at last, his voice is quiet, but it carries through the yard like a promise long delayed. Amy. The single word breaks the silence. It is not just a name. It is a key turning in a lock, a bridge rebuilt, a pulse of life where she thought there was none. Amy's knees weaken, and she grips the fence as tears spill over. She wants to run to him, to touch him, to prove that he is real. But fear keeps her still, the fear that reaching out might turn him. Back into smoke and shadow, the ranch exhales, as if the land itself has been holding this secret. Questions burn on every tongue, but no one dares speak them yet. For this one fragile instant, the world is reduced to the sound of his voice, the sight of his face. and the truth Amy's eyes can no longer deny. Asterisk, the moment hangs like a fragile thread between dream and reality. Amy's hands tremble at her sides, and for a heartbeat she cannot remember how to breathe. Her mind rushes to catch up with what her eyes refuse to let go of. The man before her is no echo, no passing shadow. He is here, flesh and bone, his voice carrying her name like he has been holding it safe through all the years apart. Her throat tightens, the tears slipping free before she can fight them. Amy takes one step forward, then stops, afraid that moving too fast will shatter the fragile miracle standing in front of her. Her eyes search his face, desperate for proof that this is not some cruel trick of her imagination. Every detail, the scar at his brow, the familiar curve of his smile, the quiet steadiness in his gaze tells her the same truth. This is Ty, her Ty, the man she buried in memory, now standing just a few feet away. Her voice is raw when it finally escapes. Ty. The word is thin, breaking in the middle like a child's cry. It carries every ounce of pain she has hidden. Every sleepless night, every whispered prayer she thought went unanswered. Thus, the sound of it almost undoes him. He takes a step closer, his eyes soft, but filled with a storm of emotions he cannot yet name. Jack lets out a sharp breath behind her, breaking the stillness, and Lou covers her mouth with trembling fingers. Georgie takes a hesitant step forward, her wide eyes darting between Amy and Ty, trying to make sense of the impossible. But Amy does not look away. Her whole world has narrowed into the space between her and the man she never thought she would see again. Ty's voice is rough, as if unused for too long. It's me, Amy. I'm here. The ground gives way beneath her fear. Amy rushes forward, closing the distance with steps that are half run, half stumble. She collides against him with the weight of years, her arms circling his shoulders, her face pressing into his chest. His arms wrap around her, firm and trembling all at once, as if he, too, cannot believe she is real. The scent of him, the warmth, the steady beat of his heart crashes into her like a wave breaking through stone. Her sobs spill free, ragged and uncontrolled, the kind of tears that come when pain finally meets relief. Ty holds her tighter, his cheek resting against her hair. His own eyes glisten, though he blinks hard to steady himself. For the first time in years, the silence between them is filled not with loss, but with life. The others look on, torn between awe and confusion. Lou whispers, "How is this possible?" Jack shakes his head, his jaw set in disbelief, but his eyes are wet with tears he would never admit to. Georgie's voice cracks with hope as she whispers, "Ty?" And Ty nods at her, his smile small but certain. Amy pulls back just enough to search his face again, her hands trembling against his cheeks as if afraid he might vanish. Her voice shakes with every word. "I thought I lost you forever." Ty's eyes hold hers with a quiet intensity. "I tried to come back sooner. Every day I held on to this, to you. I never stopped." His words fall heavy, filled with things unsaid, with stories that will need to be told. But for now, they are enough. Amy presses her forehead against his, tears still sliding down her cheeks, but her lips curve into a smile that has not touched her face in years. The weight she has carried lifts, not completely, not yet, but enough to let her heart breathe again. For the first time since losing him, Amy feels whole. The ranch around them blurs into the background. The questions, the doubts, the shock of the moment, all of it can wait. What matters now is the truth her eyes can no longer deny. Ty is here. He is alive. And he is holding her like he never left. The embrace lingers, but the moment cannot stay untouched. Behind Amy's tears of joy, there is a storm waiting to break. She pulls back just enough to look at him again, her hand still trembling on his shoulders. His face is real, his breath is warm, his presence undeniable, yet her mind keeps circling. The one truth that will not rest. If Ty is here now, then where has he been all this time? Jack clears his throat, the sound sharp as a crack in the air. His voice carries the weight of a man who has seen too much life to accept miracles without reason. Ty, we buried you. We mourned you, so you tell me. How in the world are you standing here? His tone is steady, but his eyes betray the quake of disbelief. Lou steps forward, still holding the scattered papers she picked up from the porch, her hands shaking so badly they fall again to the boards. Her voice is higher, urgent, desperate. You can't just show up like this. We thought you were gone forever. You owe us an answer. Georgie looks between them, her young face caught in the battle between hope and doubt. He's here. That's all that matters, she whispers. But her eyes flicker with questions too. Amy clutches Ty's arm, torn between defending him and needing to know herself. Please, tell me where you've been.
Tell me why you didn't come back.
Her voice cracks on the last word. Da-da-da. It is not accusation, but it is not forgiveness either. It is raw in need, the cry of a heart that has carried too many scars. Ty lowers his gaze for the first time since stepping onto the ranch. His shoulders tense and his silence stretches longer than anyone can bear. Finally he speaks, his voice heavy, as if every word costs him strength. I wanted to come home every single day, but something happened, something I can't explain all at once. I was kept away, far from here, far from you, and I had to fight my way back. His tone holds no lies, but it carries secrets, thick as shadows in the corners of the yard. Jack's eyes narrow, his jaw set. That's not good enough. Not for Amy. Not for any of us. Amy shakes her head, torn apart inside. She wants to believe every word, wants to trust the man she once built her life with. Yet doubt creeps in like a cold wind. If he could have returned sooner, why didn't he? If he loved her as he says, why let her live through years of grief and emptiness? Her heart pounds with the collision of joy and anger, of hope and fear. Ty looks back at her, his eyes pleading.
I'll tell
You everything, Amy, I promise. But right now, all I can ask is that you trust I never stopped loving you. Not once. The silence that follows is unbearable. The family stands divided between faith and suspicion, between relief and the fear of being broken again. Amy wipes at her tears, her gaze steady on him, but her voice small, almost afraid. If I let myself believe you, Ty, then you need to know. Can't survive losing you again. The words hang heavy in the air. Ty takes her hands gently, his voice rough but certain. Then I won't let you. Yet even as he says it, Amy senses the truth. His return is not simple, not clean. It carries the weight of secrets, of battles still untold. Endo. Heart wants to surrender to the miracle. Her mind warns her that this story is far from over. Asterisk, the yard is still alive with silence, though every soul standing there feels the weight of questions pressing like storm clouds. Amy's tears have slowed, but her chest rises and falls with the ache of uncertainty. She is holding him as if her very grip will keep him here, yet her mind cannot quiet the gnawing thought that something about all this is unfinished. Ty is back, but the story of how he found his way to Heartland remains a locked door. Jack crosses his arms, his sharp gaze cutting straight through the tenderness of the reunion. His words are measured, but each one lands heavy. A man doesn't just walk out of the grave, Ty. If you've got a story to tell, you'd better be ready to speak it. The air grows colder at his tone, and even Amy feels her hope tighten. With unease, Lou wipes her face, her voice trembling between relief and anger. You kept us in the dark for years. Amy carried the weight of your memory. We all did. And now you're here, saying you never stopped fighting for Herb. But fighting who? Ty? Fighting what? The question slices deeper than she means it to. Amy's hand slips from Ty's arm, her eyes searching his face again. She sees love there, yes, and regret so heavy it almost breaks her heart. But she also sees the shadow of something unsaid, something he is holding back. Ty swallows hard, his jaw tight. He glances down at the ground, then back at Amy, his voice low, almost hoarse. There are things I need to tell you, things you might not want to hear. But I can't. He cuts himself off, the words collapsing before they can form. His silence speaks louder than his promise. Georgie takes a step closer, her youthful voice filled with both curiosity and fear. What do you mean? Did someone keep you away? Did something happen to you? Ty looks at her, his eyes soft, but filled with a warning. I'll explain, but not tonight, not here. It's not safe. The word hangs in the air like a stone dropped into water, sending ripples through every heart. Not safe. Amy's eyes widen, confusion sharpening into dread. Jack stiffens, his old instinct sparking at the sound. Lou shakes her head in disbelief. Clutching her arms as if warding off a chill, Amy steps closer again, her voice trembling but steadier than before. Safe from what, Ty? What followed you back here? For a long moment, he does not answer. His silence is louder than thunder, and Amy feels her skin prickle with a fear she cannot name. At last, he meets her gaze, and though his voice is calm, the truth buried inside, it shakes her. There are things out there I thought I left behind. But I was wrong. Coming home may have brought them here with me. Amy's breath catches, her heart twisting between the miracle of his return and the dread of what that return means. The others shift uneasily. A family who once thought they had closure now realizing they have only stepped into a new beginning. Filled with shadows, Ty reaches for Amy's hand, his grip warm but heavy. Whatever comes next, we face it together. If you'll still have me. Her tears return softer this time, her voice breaking as she whispers, I never stopped. The wind shifts across the ranch, carrying with it the weight of both hope and danger. The questions left unanswered hang heavier than the answers given. And as the sun dips low, painting the fields in deep gold, Heartland feels different as. Though something unseen is already moving on the horizon, the screen of this story would fade with a line that leaves the audience breathless. Ty has returned. But his return carries secrets that could change Heartland forever. Asterisk night falls over. Heartland and the ranch seems quieter than ever. The sun has long dipped behind the hills, leaving a pale silver glow stretched across the land. Inside the house, the family tries to settle, but no one can rest. Amy sits at the kitchen table with Ty's hand folded in hers, refusing to let go even for a moment. She studies his face as if every detail will prove to her again that he is here, alive, real, yet deep inside her chest. Unease hums like a hidden wire waiting to spark. Lou paces the room, her worry sharp and restless. We can't just sit here pretending everything is normal. Ty shows up out of nowhere after all these years, and now he tells us it's not safe? That's not something you can ignore. Her voice wavers, a mixture of anger and fear, but no one disagrees. Jack leans against the counter, silent but watchful. His eyes stay fixed on Ty, searching for the truth beneath the man's tired smile. He has lived long enough to know when someone carries a burden too heavy to share. And Ty's silence tonight is louder than any story he could tell. Amy finally speaks. Her voice softer than the ticking clock on the wall. I don't care how complicated this is. I don't care what you've been through. You're here, Ty. That's what matters. She squeezes his hand tighter, as if her grip alone will anchor him to Heartland. Ty's eyes soften with love. But that same shadow lingers there, a shadow that will not be ignored. I'll tell you everything soon, I promise. But tonight, just let me sit here with you. The family quiets, though the silence is thick with questions. Outside, the horses shift restlessly in the paddock, their ears flicking at something. Beyond the dark, a dog barks once, sharp and uneasy, then falls quiet. The wind carries a sound almost too faint to notice the crunch of footsteps on gravel, slow and measured, coming closer to the house. Amy stiffens, her head turning toward the window. Ty's shoulders tense immediately, his eyes narrowing toward the night as if he already knows who or what is out there. Jack pushes away from the counter, his instincts sharp, his body alert. Lou's breath catches, her hands frozen mid-gesture. Sound stops. For a moment, the night is perfectly still. Then faintly, a shadow moves across the porch, passing behind the glass of the window. Amy's heart pounds. She looks at Ty, fear rising in her chest. He doesn't look surprised. He doesn't look confused. Instead, he looks ready, as though he has been waiting for this. The silence breaks with a single knock on the door slow, its deliberate echoing through the house like a warning. Amy grips Ty's hand tighter, her voice a whisper trembling on the edge of terror and faith. "Who's out there, Ty?" Ty does not answer. His eyes remain locked on the door, and in that silence, Amy knows the truth. Whatever brought back to her has now followed him home. The screen would fade to black on that sound, the echo of the knock leaving the question hanging heavy for the next chapter. Ty is alive. But what darkness has returned with him to Heartland?